The influence are all the adults around the kids who are framing the game, and you know, we look at the coaches and the trainers, and we look at all the administrators. I mean, they all have an influence, but parents, I really truly believe, have a key influence as well, and they have to be partners in helping to shape the game, and away from the rink and at the rink, we have to have all those people on side in order to make this rule work and make all the cultural changes work that we're going to try to enhance.
Well, what I like here is we do have a couple of coaches or former coaches on the panel, and I've heard, working with Todd this summer, about some of the coaches were quite reluctant to take on these new rules, that they'd always been working in a certain way. So, as former coach, Ken, how do you feel about that?
I'm very optimistic. I'm a lot more optimistic than I was even 1 year ago, because I think we're starting to see the effects of these changes. I really got out of active coaching about 5 or 6 years ago, and I can tell you at that time the level of awareness of all, you know, the behavioral aspects and everything to do with the situations that are resulting in concussions was at a very low level. Compared to today, with all the increased awareness and again these initiatives, there's no doubt in my mind that coaches are much more aware of this, and also parents. So everybody, all the stakeholders, they're moving along.
Yeah, I can tell you things have changed drastically. I mean, if you go back to, and I'll date one of your audience or one of our attendees here, when you go back to the days when Rick Bull was playing at Colorado College, and fortunately we had a trainer in place that identified some of the needs. But for all of us, when you look at the days when we didn't have doctors, didn't have direction, didn't have an understanding of what head injuries were, the days of putting the player back on the ice right away and not really understanding the impact of that injury, things have changed, and they require a lot more knowledge on the part of our coaches, on the part of our parents, and understanding the interpretation or the evaluation that has to go in it and the proper care that has to go into taking care of our players.
Absolutely, and you look at the Hockey Canada Safety Program, for those of you that may be familiar with it. 20 years ago or 30 years ago, we had the 15-minute rule where a player came off and they were fined for 15 minutes and bang, they were back on the ice. And you can see how things have evolved and how we've worked with the medical community and we've worked with the manufacturers, and now we're to a point where we're being cautious and we're making sure that players aren't going back in the game. So you can see how the culture has changed and how we're taking care of players much differently than we used to.
Well, and I would also add, you know, if you think back to the days, and again in Rick's case, the attitude amongst the players was, I'm going to play no matter what. I'm going back out on the ice, and they didn't distinguish or understand that difference themselves. This day and age, the players, and particularly the pro players, are recognizing that something is wrong, and they need to take care of themselves both physically to make sure that they're prepared to be able to play at their best and that they don't risk some future damage.